tuck it in here. Hey, everybody, I'm live on YouTube once again. My name is Adam Talley, and I'm here to build some content. Maybe if you're bored today, stuck at home with this whole virus thing going on. You ever heard of that? That thing that's going on? I'm here to talk about something for you, some indie comics, which I'm known to do. My name is Adam Talley. I've self-published comics for the past 26 years, and over that 26 years, I've published a lot of books. Not only that, I made a lot of friends in the industry of indie comics, and I've picked up some books along the way. And I kind of been doing a deep dive in some of these comics and remembering some of the books I haven't picked up in a long time. So I wanted to pull them out and show them off to people, and maybe turn you on to some of this stuff that maybe you might not have heard of. Some of this stuff is out of print, but you can find it. You can either go to the artist's website, or you can get it on eBay or the dreaded Amazon for stupid amounts of money. But either way, these are books I'm trying to recommend to you and turn you on to in case you're interested in indie comics like I am. So I want to start out with a dude whose art I just, or whose newest comic I just got this past week. It's a guy by the name of Matt Feasel, and those in Michigan know who he is. He does a comic called The Amazing Cynical Man, which is a true indie comic, a mini comic, and it's only 50 cents. He's based out of Hamtramck, Michigan, and it's basically stick figure stuff, but it's real fun. Real fun. He's got hundreds of these, I think, and he even made his own movie based on this character. Here's a little thing he sent me today. And he also does a lot of extra stuff. He sends little things to people, and even puts little stickers on his mailers. This whole thing here cost me only $1. You can get that at cynicalman.com. I highly, highly, highly recommend this dude. I got a collection over here of one of his comics, as my cat will now join me and try to knock over my stack of books. Here is one of the compilations here, The Amazing Cynical Man Volume 2. I have Volume 1 somewhere, trying to find it. But basically, it's kind of the same thing, all of them collected in a nice book. Here comes my cat, everybody. She's trying to attack my microphone cord. That's the dangers of going live. Say hi, Lily. She's got to be on the show. So anyway, Not Available Books is his own self-published company, and you can get him at cynicalman.com. I highly, highly recommend Matt Feasel and everything he does. So, moving on, another one that I love is Rich Kozlowski. I think that's how you say it. He's known for doing The Three Geeks, otherwise known as Geeksville. Now, from what I know, he did a few indie comics and then had them in collections. This one here, which I collect books 4 through 7, it says. And then When the Hammer Falls. And then this one, I think this is the first one. This collects issues 1 through 3, Going to the Con. If you guys are comic book fans of like Marvel and DC stuff, you'll like this for sure. Image Comics picked up his stuff. I think it was Image Comics. And they did, I think it was a 6-issue series with the same characters, and it was called Geeksville. And that's collected in this, The Geeksville Years. You can get all these books through his website. Let's find out. I want to make sure I get it right. I believe it's just richkozlowski.com. But just look him up. That's how you spell his name. Highly recommend him. Not only did he do all those books, he also worked on Archie. I know that. He's got many other comics with the Three Geeks in the back of old Dork Tower comics and maybe even PvP comics from Image. He's done many different mini-series that are not collected in a trade book yet. One about CGC grading. There's one about how to pick up girls. There's all sorts of comics that he's done with these characters, and I highly recommend them to you. Moving on here. All right. Jim Mahfood is one of my favorite comic artists, and he is started out being known from doing the Clerks comic books for Oni Press. This is not his art on the cover, but you can see the comics. They're all collected in a book now, but you can find these fairly easily. And he does his own stuff, and he's indie as they can go. I mean, he's done stuff with Image and even Marvel. He's done like a Waha one shot, which is making fun of the What If comics that used to be in Marvel. He's done Spider-Man, a bunch of other stuff. But it's his indie stuff that I really love. And here's another Clerks comic he did, which was a con exclusive. It led up to the events that happened in Clerks 2, which I think you can get those all in a trade book. It's called Tales from the Clerks. It's hard to find now, but it's out there. Here's a book he did independently called We Love Porn. Basically a humor book about porn. I recommend it. It's pretty fun. I think it's out of print. Can't get it. But my favorite stuff he's done is a book called Stupid Comics, which was through Image. I think even one went through Oni Press. They're all collected in this book, The Stupid Comics. Highly, highly recommended. It's a lot of social commentary, a lot of talking about music and stuff, and just that kind of stuff. And then he also did another one, the Stupid Comics Phoenix edition, which he did these kind of comics for his local newspaper in Phoenix when he lived there, and these are all collected there. So definitely recommend Jim Mahfood. He's done all sorts of other stuff. Like he did a whole comic based on the Beastie Boys' Paul's Boutique, and also an R&B album, Felt. I think it's called Tribute to Lisa Bonet. The dude's constantly doing stuff. He's also done a comic called Girl Scouts. Endless. I think its website is jimmahfood.com or 40ouncecomics.com. You can go there and check that out and look into his work. I think he also did the artwork for a recent Coors beer thing. I don't know. Don't quote me on that, but I don't drink Coors. Let's see what else I got here. Got sketchbooks. I'll share those in a bit. Here's a buddy of mine named Brian Mays. These might be hard to find. I'm not sure if he has a website to sell these at or not, but Freak Central was a comic he did. He also did another one-shot called Flounder, which I don't have here in front of me. I was reading it last night, so it's in my bedroom, and I don't want to stop the show to go get it. But it's basically about a newspaper that it's this reporter and another reporter who's a monkey goat boy who they investigate UFO stuff and weird underground type of stories and things. And there was a couple issues of this Freak Central. If you could find it, check it out. He's got a very unique style, very cartoony, very fun, and he's a good guy. Check it out. A little sock puppet action. Not bad. Where am I at now? Okay, let's go to someone you guys might have heard of. I met this guy a long time ago, back when he was a ham and egger like me. And now he's one of the big shots at Marvel. He writes and draws a comic. He doesn't write it, but he draws it called Sex Criminals. I think that's for Image. But he writes a lot of Marvel stuff. I think Deadpool, Spider-Man, maybe. I don't know. Chip Zdarsky is what I'm talking about. And he's well known for his fun little antics and whatnot. And he's quite a personality. And he was even way back in the day when I met him. And when I met him, he was doing a comic called Prison Funnies, which this here is hard to find now. I think it's, it's not printed now, but it's severely out of print, but it's well worth your time to find. If you love dark humor, this is your book. It's basically about a bunch of prisoners and characters and things. And there's a very unique story here at the end about the meaning of Christmas that involves a very grateful person when a guy buys her groceries for Christmas. I won't spoil it, but let's just say it was what made me buy this book. I was like, this guy's got some unique humor. I've got to check this guy out. And he did a series, independently published, Prison Funnies. I think he did 3 issues. I've only got 2 of them. I've been trying to track down the 3rd one forever. It was a very limited print run. But every now and then they'll pop up on eBay. But highly, highly recommend you check this out. If you love dark humor, Chip Zdarsky's Prison Funnies. I don't know if he likes to talk about those comics nowadays, but that's what I know him from. Save this guy for last because he's got a lot. He's got a lot. This is a comic that was published in Michigan here by a guy named Mark Rudolph, who I went to college with, called City Yarns. And it's about an independent comic book, or comic book, record store. And you can see the art there. He's a good artist. He's done stuff for Antarctic Press and other companies. I think he's still doing stuff nowadays, and he was a phenomenal painter when I knew him. As far as I know, he's still active. But if you could track this down, City Yarns by Mark Rudolph, I'd recommend it. Especially if you're a music fan, you like that in your comics, go for it. This guy, Jason Youngbluth, did a comic called Weapon Brown, which is basically Charlie Brown in post-apocalyptic world. This is some dark humor. If you know the Charlie Brown world, there's the tree that ate the kites. There's Lucy Van Pelt. There's some lesbian stuff in here. It's kind of like here's Snoopy on the back. It doesn't come out and say that these are the same characters, but I mean, come on. They refer to the lead character as Chuck. And here you got who's that? Peppermint Patty and Marcy. I won't tell you what happens there, but it's some fun. But it's a fun read. Definitely recommend it if you could find it. Weapon Brown. I'm not sure what his website is. Some of these books are so old that their websites might not even be up anymore. It doesn't say here. I think he did a comic called Deep Fried as well. He's known for doing a lot of comics. I'm not sure if he's still active or if he's still around or not, but I highly recommend this read. That's for sure. This is a buddy of mine named Robert Knight. Did a book called Crow's Keep. And I've got her art in here. Isn't that cool? It's a collection of some of his poems and short stories. And I did some art for it. Like I said, he did some art. There's a drawing I did. Boy with a sheep. And pouring a cup. It's like, if you like Renaissance festival type stuff, this kind of stuff, I recommend finding this. Crow's Keep by Robert Knight. If you could find a copy on eBay, definitely look into that. Robert's good people. I recommend it. Also, let's see, Jay Fosgate did some art in here, and Dean Stahl, another buddy of mine. Yeah, there's Jay Fosgate there. We got stuff from Marvel now. So, if you could find that, Crow's Keep, Robert Knight, check it out. Recommend. I put it in this flimsy plastic. I'm not a bag and border kind of guy. I pick them up and I read them, and you can see the spines are creased on these, and that's okay because I read them. That's what you're supposed to do with comics. Butternut Squash. You guys ever heard of this? This is a web comic apparently done by it's an artist that works for the big companies now. Roman Perez and Rob Koffler. I think that's how you pronounce his name. But if you can find this comic, I just searched eBay to see if they ever did any more. This is the only one they did, and it was a collection of some of the web comics. And you can kind of get a look at it. Really good art. And a dark humor, fun read. Hey, guys. Got a comic here called Milk and Cheese, another dark humor comic made by Evan Dorkin, who went on to do some stuff with Yo Gabba Gabba and other things. But this was his main indie comic. It's just about a milk carton and a slice of cheese kicking butt. It's a lot of fun, man. This is as indie as you get. This is a 6th printing, so that's you can find a bunch of those all over the place. It's not hard to find that. Throw those up there. Here's a guy. This is a guy who's literally changed my life. This dude. His name was Aaron Warner. He used to do a comic in the Detroit Free Press here in Michigan called The Adventures of Aaron. It was about him in high school, and it was kind of farcical. His parents were crazy. His gym socks came to life and would come after him. He hid a prom date in a pile of dirty laundry in his bedroom and forgot about her. She just lives there. It's that kind of book. It's a lot of fun, and it's loosely based on his life and his pregnant sister who's moody and all that. Anyway, he self-published his own stuff, Adventures of Aaron. A lot of the newspaper strips are collected in a book called My Mom's Meatloaf Moves, and you can find that on eBay or Amazon, or if he still has a website, which I tried to look up once before, you can't really find them, but they are out there. You can check them out. And Image Comics at one point picked up his book, and he published 4 issues of The Adventures of Aaron. First one, there's the second one. There's the third one. And then he did issue 100, where he farcically skipped over books 4 through 99 and did this. It's a lot of fun, this whole thing. And then some of the strips that I talked about that were collected in that My Mom's Meatloaf Moves were collected in a book called Aaron Strips that also Image Comics published, so you can get some of those there. But this dude I met at one of the first Comic-Cons I ever went to, and back then I was only into superhero comics. I didn't know that comics it could be anything like this kind of stuff. And I bought his collection, and it changed my life, and it eventually made me help do a comic called Pleasant Life, which again changed my life, if you guys know that. And years later I got to talk to him and tell him that story, and he was super grateful, and he gave me a bunch of free stuff and a poster and a bunch of things. And as far as I know, he does commercial art now, and he's probably not doing as many comics as he used to, but by all means find this guy, Aaron Warner, and The Adventures of Aaron, or Amazing Aaron. He also did a book called that. You got to check this stuff out. I think he also did a comic called A College Girl Named Joe, which I don't have here. I used to have it. I don't know where it happened. I've moved a million times in my life. It's probably long gone. But check him out, by all means. See who influenced me. Back to talking about Jim Mahfood. I found some more collections here from him. Putting the Backbone Back. This is an Image book. I think it's just a sketchbook kind of thing, which is pretty cool. I eat these kind of things up. I love sketchbooks, which we'll get into some sketchbooks here in a little bit. He did a bunch of mini comics. Here is one, the 40-ounce Collected, which was very similar to the stupid comics I showed you earlier, which is like this. Just a bunch of stuff, especially if you're into music. It's pretty neat to check out. This is like a toilet read, you just sit there and just pour over it all day. I love this stuff. And then he did some back in college, the same thing. And here they are collected, classic 40-ounce comics, which is another collection through Image you can get. And his art was a little different back then because, he was younger, because that's what we do. It's as indie as you get, man. And he does a good job curating his work and collecting them into stuff. This is a collection I bought from him directly, and he even sketched inside for me, man. Yeah. You might have heard of this guy, Brian Michael Bendis. He's wrote some stuff in comics. Just, a bunch of Marvel stuff, and now on DC stuff, and he's done Powers, and he's done a massive amount of stuff. He's on Superman right now, if that means anything to you. But this book I love, and I read it over and over and over again, and he did it through Oni Press. It's called Fortune and Glory. It's about him trying to sell some of his indie comic concepts to Hollywood, and it's actually based on true stories and meetings he had. And you read it and you're just like, wow, what's the point of even trying to shop your comic as a movie? And this was like 20 years ago. And the rules really still haven't changed. This is a fun book to read. And he also illustrated it. That's right. It's one of my favorites. I reread this a lot. It's a lot of fun to read, and it's if you're an indie guy or girl, and you think about the big picture of wanting to sell your comic to Hollywood one day and rake in those bags of cash, read this first, and then maybe go, maybe I'm better off just doing my books and being happy. Recommend it. Excuse me. It's water, not vodka, I swear. Here's a book by my buddy Grant Gould called Wolves of Odin. He did that through Super Real Graphics maybe about 10 years ago, I want to say. SuperRealGraphics.com, wolvesofodin.com is where you can probably get it. It's Vikings versus werewolves, and Grant Gould has done work for StarWars.com and other things. He does children's book illustrations now. He is a great artist and a phenomenal colorist and a good guy and a family man. If you buy his books, it feeds his kids. So consider that. Good stuff. I also have a couple sketchbooks by him. One called Grant Go Boom from 2008. I love sketchbooks, man. They just do all sorts of stuff and collect all their little drawings and things in there. I pour over this stuff. I love it. And here's one he did in 2009 called Quantum of Sarlacc. Kind of using his Star Wars roots there. And parodying a James Bond. More of the same. You can probably find these on eBay or just go to grantgould.com or grantgouldart.com or just Google Grant Gould. You'll find him. He's pretty active. He stays busy. Pour over that stuff, man. You can see some of the Star Wars stuff in there. IG-88 and whatnot. Absolutely. This is a sketchbook by my buddy Tim Fisher called Studio Book. There. He did a comic called Space Pilot Girl, which I believe you can find too. And there's an original sketch. Yay! And his art, see it here. I believe his website is comicsmill.com. Comics with an X, -mill.com. Here's a butt. He likes drawing butts, and there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely. Here are some comics from a dude I went to college with named Jay Fosgate. We got a book called Dead Duck here, which I think is out of print now. It's his own comic. It's about a kind of a death character, a duck, and a zombie chicken that take people to the afterlife. And his work's very busy. It's not hard to look at a drawing and say, yeah, that's a Jay Fosgate. So you can kind of see some of the stuff there. If you can find this book, I recommend it because it's out of print now. He's also known for doing a book called Bodhi Troll, which is about a little troll that's too cute to be scary. He does stuff for Marvel right now. I think he's done like Squirrel Girl and a bunch of other stuff. Does some covers. He's done some Fraggle Rock and Muppets things. He stays busy. Very busy. So there you go. So check that out. That was from Red 5 Comics, but I think also it's been published under other people. Here's a sketchbook I have from him. What year did I get this? I think it's some con, I think. 2010. You could probably track one of these down if you look on eBay enough. And again, same kind of stuff. Pencils and inks. I just pour over that stuff, man. I love it. Recommend it. I think his website's jfosgate.com, but he is on Facebook. You can find him there. Not sure where he sells his books, but that is the place to go. This guy, I got a lot by this guy. This guy's name is Mike Pascal, who I've actually done work with in horror comics and stuff together. And he's published a lot of stuff. First up is a book called Nasty Monster Hunter, which is a 4-issue miniseries through Schism Comics. I think that's his own thing he did. And it's actually, it looks like, almost like titty chick comics, but it's actually really well done. And a good story. There you go. So you could find those probably like on eBay or something. Definitely check that out. I'm not sure if he ever did a trade for that or not, but his main character was a character named Brewhead, which there we go. He did a 4-issue miniseries. Here's the first issue. And the second, third, and fourth. It's basically about a stereotypical jock kind of character, always trying to hit on chicks and stuff and really reading the situations wrong. And all that is collected in the Collected Brewhead, which I know you can find on Amazon, maybe like 10 or 11 bucks. Highly recommended. If you like dark humor, kind of perverted humor. Matter of fact, the dude's drawn in such a way with a big chin like that. Jay Leno actually had it on his show once saying, "Hey, is this me in a comic? Hey, There you go. So that's a good place to get all that. He did this one-shot thing with a buddy of his called One to Go, which is a Brewhead comic in that, and some other stuff he illustrated. There is a fun little sketchbook, pinup book, and comics called Brewhead's Bunnies, Baddies, and Buddies, which you can get. But my favorites are Brewhead's Guide to Getting Girls Now, Volume 1 and 2. I've got 2 copies of these, one for reading, one for keeping. Basically, all the comics start the same. He's in a situation, and he finds a chick, and he says something offensive to her, and she does something to him, and he hurts. That's kind of the same. It's the same comic over and over, and he does like little things about like what women say, but what they really mean. It's a little, it's from the point of view of Mr. Brewhead, so it's not a PC one. But if you like that kind of humor, I highly recommend Mike Pascal, his work, Brewhead especially, and all that. Okay, coming down to the nitty gritty here. Before I show those, I'll show these. Jeff Scott Campbell, you've heard of him. He's done indie stuff. I got some of his sketchbooks here. Rough Stuff, Volume 1 and 2, which I guess are out of print now, and they're hard to find. Not that he needs my help to show off his comics, but I love sketchbooks, and there's some good stuff there. Lastly, we're going to talk about Adrian Tomine, who's someone I discovered on the indie comics circuit. I've never met the guy, but I love his book. His book's called Optic Nerve, and it's slice of life type of comics with a lot of drama, but he does some good stuff. And I got some of his collections here of stories that are collections of Optic Nerve and also just regular short stories. Like there's one called Killing and Dying. You can get all these on Amazon, by the way. And he publishes through Drawn and Quarterly, I think, right? Double check that. DrawnandQuarterly.com, or just go to Amazon.com, or you might even have a website. I'm not sure, but I know he's got an Instagram. Shortcomings, that's another one. It's about a couple. So good. Summer Blonde. Definitely recommend. My favorite, though, is Sleepwalk and Other Stories, and this is a lot of stuff from the Optic Nerve comics. If you like indie comics, this is something to check out. Highly recommended. If you like Strangers in Paradise, maybe My Own Pleasant Life, check out those books. Anyway, that's some of my independent comics that I've dug out in the last couple days. With this virus going on, I'm just kind of bored and digging through my stuff that I have because I can't go shopping. I got to read the stuff that I have, or at least reread it. Some of the stuff I've had for over 20 years, and I'm looking forward to taking it in the toilet and reading it again, because these are all toilet reads. That's where I get most of my thinking done. But I wanted to turn you guys on to some of it if you've never heard of it, and maybe you can find it and check it out. Some of these creators, could use the extra scratch right now. If you want to support their work, search them out, go check them out. I guess that's all I really got to say, man. I hope you guys are staying safe out there. Be sane, be safe, be good, be cool with each other, be kind. And check out my work. I do comics too. Idiothead.com. You can check out my stuff there. You can either buy it digitally, or sometimes through Kickstarters you can get physical copies and stuff. I'm hoping maybe in the new year I will buy more physical books and I can open up an online store at some point, because I'm kind of moving away from doing commissions and just going to worry about bookstore stuff. And I want my stuff kind of collected in a nice volume. Yeah. So there we go. You throw enough crap at the wall and you see what sticks. That's Indie Comics 101. Anyway, guys, thanks a lot for watching, and thanks to those in the chat room, including my brother Tony. What's up, man? I appreciate you guys taking the time, and I hope you stay safe. Peace and love. Cheers.